I've known Doug Rice for a long time, and I've had a front row seat as he grew to become one of the most recognizable and influential voices in NASCAR. There's something special about Doug. He has a familiar and down-home way of painting a picture of a race. He likes to tell people he's not in the broadcasting business, he's in the transportation business. It's his job to transport you from wherever you are to the NASCAR race he's calling that day. And that's what Doug has done masterfully for 36 years. He's transported fans to the race.
Bobby Labonte works to the high side of the speedway, now dives down to the low side. He is a single car length behind Dale Earnhardt across the stripe. If you believe in numerology, this is Kevin Harvick's third Winston Cup start. There are 3 laps to go. Kevin Harvick has pulled away to an 8-car length advantage as they rocket into turn number 1. Here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, Kurt Busch will outduel his brother Kyle. Jeff Gordon out of turn number 4, following Jimmy Spencer. He will lay claim to his first ever Winston Cup victory, and it comes in the Coca-Cola 600. Jimmy Johnson looks to the inside of Martin Truex Jr. They dive into the chicane. They touch. Jimmy Johnson spins. Martin Truex Jr. gets hit by Johnson. They are both spun out. Here comes Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney will survive and win the Bank of America Roval 400.
Doug was the youngest of 4 boys and 4 girls, helping with the family farming business on the Biltmore Estate in Asheville. In fact, he could sit on his front porch and gaze out over the massive Biltmore house. Now, that's a pretty good view to wake up to each morning. Doug's family moved to western Rowan County when he was in the 4th grade, and he lived about a mile from his high school alma mater, West Rowan High School. That's where the broadcasting bug bit.
Oh, that's called Goodbye, My Love. That's the sound of Mary Hopkins at 13 before 10 o'clock.
After graduating from Appalachian State in 1977, he spent years developing his skill of telling the story of the game on WSTP Radio, a Salisbury station known for producing major sports talents.
26 seconds remain in the game. Guilford trails Catawba 11-10. Cunningham back to pass. He's got time. It's incomplete at the 40-yard line.
He did the night shift, called a few games, and eventually the morning shift, still calling those nighttime games. NASCAR called to him there. He would often spend his weekends headed to a race, a racing press event, or stringing for major radio networks in search of race reports.
Well, the Carolina 500 is at the top of the sports agenda today. Doug Rice has the story from Rockingham, North Carolina.
Cale Yarborough is on the pole for today's running of the Carolina 500. Yarborough took the pole with a speed of 140.43 miles per hour in a Buick.
In 1988, Doug answered the call to head up the Performance Racing Network, then only a small part of Charlotte Motor Speedway. From that tiny seed, a massive oak grew, with Doug at the helm. It's interesting that this season is called Doug's Last Lap, because when he started his run here at PRN, he didn't actually get to take his first lap for a very personal reason.
Unfortunately, my dad passed away the day before that race, and I wasn't even at the Speedway for the first Coca-Cola 600 that I was supposed to be a part of PRN for. And I remember the late Bill Cannell did a really nice dedication to my dad on the air that day.
If you ever stepped in Doug's office, you weren't greeted by the usual array of racing memorabilia. There were few, if any, die-cast models, and there were no car fenders hanging from the wall. You were more likely to see Civil War chess pieces, a framed original poster of Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, some mementos from alma mater, Appalachian State. Oh, and you were greeted by one of Doug's prized possessions, a life-size cutout of Star Trek's Mr. Spock that startled visitors on more than one occasion. And don't get me started on the day he convinced visiting Spock actor Leonard Nimoy to voice the network's race feature.
It's a Memorial Day weekend tradition. It's NASCAR's longest race and a crown jewel of the Nextel Cup Series. It is the Coca-Cola 600 and is coming up next, exclusively on the Performance Racing Network.
And tonight, Jimmy Johnson will boldly try to go where no driver has gone before, to the Coca-Cola victory lane for 3 consecutive.
The drivers he covered through the years, they think of him as a friend. Jeff Gordon, for one.
Well, and I even go back, I think, the year before when we won the duels at Daytona and went over to the Volusia Mall. I feel like that was the first time like I actually arrived and made it, Doug. And I mean, but what you guys did, the number of fans that came to that Volusia Mall across the street from Daytona, thousands. It was incredible. And it was the first time that really I was in awe. And I got to spend time with you and Benny and Mark Garrow. It sends chills up through my body right now, just thinking about how special that was. And Doug, you were just always so professional, so kind. When we did interviews, you were always insightful and passionate. The hard work and effort that you put in and build the friendships that you have within the sport, it's something that none of us will ever forget.
Yes, Doug has spent 36 years in the transportation business, but he's also been a bit of a farmer. He grew PRN from a tiny seed, broadcasting only 2 race weekends a year to the 14 it does now. And he leaves it in good hands to a family of co-workers and friends he nurtured along the way. Enjoy the next chapter in your life, my friend. And if I may borrow a phrase from Mr. Spock, live long and prosper. For the Performance Racing Network, I'm Kyle Petty.